Unfortunately, Max Crosby has been traded to the Baltimore Ravens. We're going to talk about that. Up next, you're going to get my instant reaction to the news here on No Buts About It. What's up, everyone? You are watching No Buts About It. And if you hadn't seen the news yet, Max Crosby has been traded to the Baltimore Ravens. Unfortunately, as I put in the thumbnail, I was hoping he would go anywhere but the Baltimore Ravens, but that is where he ended up. Honestly, the Steelers may have even been better. I probably would be saying the opposite if he had gone to the Steelers. But Max Crosby is a guy that I really like. He's a player that I really enjoy watching. He's a really good pass rusher. He's a really fun pass rusher. And now he's on my least favorite team in the NFL. I'm one of the few Bengals fans that hates the Ravens more than the Steelers. I dislike the Steelers a ton too, but the Ravens have just always irked me. And this is part of the reason why. They continually go after really good players that I really like and don't want to have to deal with or root against. I don't want to root against Max Crosby. Max Crosby's an awesome player. He's got an awesome story coming through sobriety. He's just a guy that you want to cheer for. But I can't do it when he's on the Baltimore Ravens. Now, I will admit, earlier today, Lamar Jackson posted kind of a cryptic tweet where it was just, him, a smiley face emoji, and a gif of a guy saying boom. And so this has clearly been, in the works for a while, and Lamar was told about it very early on. I can only assume this is what he was referring to, was this move. This was the boom, the big move. But, I I was hoping it wouldn't be the case. I thought that the Chicago Bears were kind of clearing a path for Max Crosby. We saw them release Tremaine Edmonds. We saw them trade um, DJ Moore. And I thought, you know what? They're clearing the way for Max Crosby. That's what they're going for. That's not what happened. Max Crosby has been traded to the Baltimore Ravens for 2 first-round picks. And, I think it's worth it for where the Baltimore Ravens are. The Baltimore Ravens are a team that, they've got Lamar Jackson. They've got their guys. They feel like they're in a win now situation. They have a new head coach who is a defensive mind in Jesse Minter. He's a highly respected defensive coordinator. That coaching hire, I said as a Bengals fan, scared me the most of all of the coaching hires in the AFC North. And I stand by that. And it terrifies me way more now. It terrifies me that Jesse Minter has Mike Green and now Max Crosby at his disposal. The Baltimore Ravens are not a bad team. They keep drafting guys that I wanted the Bengals to draft. Malachi Starks was another one. Safety, who plays fantastic. Kyle Hamilton. That Baltimore Ravens defense is not a joke. They are a very, very good defense. And the offense has kind of been where they have struggled, which is ironic because they have Lamar Jackson. They have Derrick Henry. What do you guys think here? Kind of what's your instant reaction? My instant reaction to Max Crosby going to the Baltimore Ravens is anger because Joe Burrow now not only has to deal with, Myles Garrett twice a year, he also has to deal with Max Crosby twice a year. He also has to deal with TJ Watt twice a year. 3 of the best pass rushers in the NFL. He has to deal with twice a year. And the Bengals just lost Trey Hendrickson. Hopefully we bring in a good pass rusher in, I've been cheering for Devin Lloyd. I've been cheering for Adafe Oweh, another guy who we could look at. But what is the instant reaction you guys have to this trade? Do you think it's worth it, or do you think it is going to handicap the Baltimore Ravens? Let's look at we've got a first comment here from Chris Vikings. always been in the show for a long time. Thanks, Ravens, for not letting the Bears get Crosby. Yeah, I thought that Maxx Crosby was going to the Chicago Bears. I had pretty much written that off in my mind that that is what was going to happen. I was okay with that because I'm not a Bears fan, but I was okay with rooting for Maxx Crosby on the Bears, and it would also get him out of the AFC. He would not have an impact on the Bengals or the Colts, the two teams I like to root for. Being from Indiana, Bengals are my primary team, but I'll root for the Colts occasionally. This is just incredibly frustrating for me to have to, talk about that. Let's see what other details we have. Do we have um, full trade compensation yet? Do we know if the Raiders are picking up any of his contract at all? Like, what do we got? Because that will also be part of the story here. I just be the number. So the Raiders already have the first overall pick. Obviously, that's very likely going to be Fernando Mendoza. They also now have the 14th overall pick in the 2026 draft. So they could go with O-line, which is something I've talked about. I want the Raiders to do. There are two. Fano could be there if Francis. I'm going to call him Francis because I always say his last name wrong. But the O lineman from Miami, if he's gone already, Fano should be there, and they can draft him at 14. Get that O line going for Fernando Mendoza. Yeah, I know, Chris. The Bengals are in trouble. I do not like this. I'm not happy. Are you kidding me? This was pretty much my reaction right here, Richard. Richard Winter, 85. Thanks for stopping in. Are you kidding me? And in fact, this was the most Ravens thing they could have done because I've been up for all day pretty much. I'm exhausted. I've had a long day. I was ready to go to bed. I was laying in bed and I was like, hey, I'm going to check Twitter real quick before I go to bed. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Make sure I got you guys all up to date on the stories around the NFL. And I see frickin' Ian Rappaport or Adam Schefter, probably both of them. I like Rappaport, but this made me upset. Maxx Crosby to the Ravens for pick number 14 per me and Tom Pelissero. I said, oh man, I got to get up. I don't even know. Is my shirt's on right? At least I wasn't even sure if it was. I came down here to the studio and I got on here because I knew I wanted to talk about this with you guys, see what you guys had to say. Let's find some more details. But who do you think benefits most from this? I mean, or is this a win-win for both teams? Are we going to have to wait? Do you think that maybe if, Maxx gets hurt, not wishing that at all, never wish that upon anyone. But if Maxx gets hurt for a few games, is this a wash for the Ravens? I kind of think that we need to see who the Raiders pick with pick 14. I would go O-line here. It is a somewhat fairly deep O-line class, not as deep as we've seen in past years, but it's decent. They could get some guys to help out Fernando. Wide receiver is really deep too. Could they go on wide receiver? They've got tight end. They've got, they've got some defensive players. Maybe they go pass rusher here. Maybe first round, they pick a guy to replace Maxx Crosby, and that becomes their priority. But I think we also saw them release Geno Smith today. The Raiders have been busy. They released Geno Smith today. So do you they've been talking about maybe getting a veteran quarterback to, be in front of Fernando so Fernando doesn't have to start right away. So there's a lot of different things we could see the Raiders do here. And this is a very fluid process, very fluid kind of watching to see who we've got here. There's other teams that were interested in Maxx Crosby. The Dallas Cowboys were supposedly all in on Maxx Crosby. The New England Patriots were all in on Maxx Crosby. We've talked about the Chicago Bears, and it'll be interesting to see how those teams react now, especially with free agency right around the corner. Are they going to be looking to trade for another team or for another player somewhere around the league? Would Trey Hendrickson have been an option for the Bengals to trade. They didn't tag him, so they can't trade him now. But would the Bengals have been able to, say, hey, look, Max Crosby is younger than Trey Hendrickson, but they gave up 2 first-round picks for Max Crosby. So would you take 1 first-round pick for Trey Hendrickson? Does that kind of happen? I don't know. We don't know now. No one knows. That hypothetical is completely to the side because the Bengals did not tag Trey Hendrickson. And I've said, like, hey, it's time to move on from Trey Hendrickson. Like, I get that. I understand that. I understand what the Bengals kind of are doing in the front office, wanting to get younger on defense. But you also didn't get anything for now the best free agent in the NFL. I mean, I've seen arguments that like Malik Willis and George Pickett's are above him, but I think Trey Hendrickson is still got some juice in the tank. And with this Max Crosby trade, you're kind of showing that. I mean, we've seen teams giving up a lot this year. We saw the Bills give up a second for DJ Moore. We saw the 2 first-round picks for Max Crosby in this huge contract. What is Max Crosby's contract, by the way? Let's go into that real quick. And of course, the Ravens could be paying partial. There may be some stipulations here. So he was signed a 3-year, $106.5 million extension with the Raiders in 2025. $91.5 million of that is guaranteed. So he's paid roughly $35.5 million on average. So he's due about $30 million this year, and that contract currently runs through 2029. Yeah, he wanted out. He wanted out of Las Vegas because of how they kind of treated him at the end of last season. But this seems like a lot for the Ravens to take on, and it's a high risk, high reward situation, right? If he stays healthy, if he fits in the scheme, plays well, you've got a 5-time Pro Bowler, one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. If that knee injury kind of flares back up or something else happens, again, not rooting for that. You've wasted 2 first-round picks on this guy and set yourself back next year. Of course, the Ravens are also very good at drafting as well. So, maybe they feel like they don't need those first-round picks to hit stars. They've hit some pretty good players in the later rounds that they've been able to trade or move on from. And I'm sure they're going to be active in free agency as well. Off the top of our head, does anyone know what the Baltimore Ravens cap space is before I'm able to Google it here? According to Over the Cap, they're actually over the cap limit right now. They're 12 million in the red, so they need some work to do there. And taking on Max Crosby's contract probably isn't going to help that too much. But we'll see what happens. Those details will be ironed out later. I'm sure the Ravens. The thing about the Ravens, and honestly the Steelers as well, that is so annoying is they're very well run organizations. That, like, even if you root against them, even if they're your least favorite team in the league, you have to at least respect the history behind them and like their front offices, because their front offices just do a very good job of putting good players on the field. And it's very irritating. Like I said, so I'm sure this is a calculated risk. But what are our thoughts? Everyone, let me know your thoughts. I'm talking a ton. I don't want to talk the entire time. I want you guys to talk as well. Do we have any comments? We got Ravens benefit most because they're a playoff team. Yeah, that's true. Right now, that's probably true. The Ravens benefit long term. The Raiders may have a chance depending how they draft, but the Ravens were already in a playoff spot, and now this just helps. I mean, I think Mike Green is a fantastic pass rusher, off-field stuff aside. I liked him coming out of the draft. I think that he has a ton of potential as a player. Malachi Starks as well. Kyle Hamilton, like I mentioned, as well. They just continue to stack up defensive players that are just monsters and do very well. Bengals bring back Hendrickson, then the AFC North is loaded with edge rushers on every team. You know, they kind of were there for a second. I mean, if you consider, I guess not edge rushers, but pass rushers. If you consider Roquan Smith on the Ravens, he would rush the passer sometimes, and he was fairly good at it. And then obviously you had T.J. Watt, you had Myles Garrett, and then Trey Hendrickson. But I think the Bengals bringing back Trey Hendrickson right now would probably have the Cincinnati media just completely up in arms. Anything's possible, right? It could happen. There's crazier things that have happened in the NFL. Maybe he goes out into free agency, realizes his market isn't what he thought it was going to be, and he's like, I just don't want to move all my things. I'm just gonna, stay in Cincinnati because they offered me the exact same contract. Is it possible? Maybe. I don't know. I know he really likes spending time in Florida as well, though. Jacksonville specifically. And I'm not saying he's going to go to the Jaguars, but I could see him going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So keep an eye out for that. And then obviously the Indianapolis Colts with Lou Anarumo are an obvious connection. But yeah, the Bengals are going to need to do something. We got to step it up. I'm hoping that Duke Tobin had a similar reaction to me with this, where he's saying, what the heck? Come on. I don't want to have to deal with this. I'm honestly not too worried about our O-line. I'm more worried about us having a matching pass rush in the AFC North, just because I do think Amarius Mims is very good. I think Orlando Brown Jr. is near the end of his peak, but he can still handle himself. I just want us to be able to have a similar kind of, fearful player, someone that can get in quarterbacks' faces. I'd love for Shamar to take that next step. I would love for Miles Murphy. He's shown so much potential that if Miles Murphy could just, finally get that final step in, he could be a very good pass rusher, and we'd be okay. We wouldn't be talking about this as much. But they're gonna be compared to these guys now. They're gonna be compared to Maxx Crosby. They're gonna be compared to Myles Garrett. Those other first rounders are just high end players that have been brought in by these other teams. Pass rushers are getting paid. Danielle Hunter got 1 year, $40.1 million fully guaranteed last night as well. So these teams are wanting to keep these guys around, or they're paying a lot to get them, as the Ravens did. Let's see, what else do we got here? Who do we think? We got 8 people chilling in here. Feel free to sound off. Tell us who you are. Let me know. Follow the channel. Thank you so much, by the way. But who do we think like the Patriots or the Bears are going to go after? Who are these? What's kind of the fallout of this move? Does anyone have any thoughts on that? Does Odafe Owe, does his market get a lot better now? Joseph Asai, free agent from the Bengals, not the biggest name in free agency, but someone I would be interested in the Bengals bringing back. But do those guys' markets go up now? Do we see another big trade, or is this the last big trade before free agency? Drop your craziest predictions in the chat. Craziest prediction. Bears go after Hendrickson. They could. I'd be interested. I'm intrigued by what the Bears do. The Bears are like simultaneously all in, but also rebuilding their O-line again because of all the retirements they had, retirements or people that left or people they had to cut. They're kind of in a weird Twilight Zone era, but I'm interested to see how they put this together and what Ben Johnson does. I could see Taylor Decker going to the Bears as well, the left tackle from the Lions who was released. They just traded for Garrett Bradbury from the Patriots after Drew Dahlman retired. So the Bears have been very active as well. To take a swing at a guy like Hendrickson, I could see it. I could see it happening. So that's a good thought, Chris. Vikings win the AFC or the NFC North next season, and Bengals finish 4th in the. I don't get why you hate the Bengals so much. Like Chris, I'd understand if there were Ravens fans in here that joined. So crap on me because Maxx Crosby joined their team and they know I'm a Bengals fan, that would be one thing. But Chris, you're a Vikings fan. Like, why are you attacking me so violently? It's so personal for some reason. That's okay. I like you. Just, calm down. Calm down a little bit. I want to find more details. I want to see who's paying what for this. Or did they just take his entire contract? That'd be He's going to have a few months of rehab. That's interesting, according to the Ravens Wire article. Who wrote this? Glenn Irby with the Ravens Wire. So that's notable, at least. He'll probably be. I think he's expected to be back by week 1. You hate the Bengals because it's between the Jefferson and Chase debate for best wide receiver, dude. It's Jamar Chase. Like, sorry about you. Which one's been Triple Crown winner before? Not Justin Jefferson. Not Justin Jefferson. Why can't you hate on the let's hate on the Ravens. Let's all kind of gather in here and hate on the Ravens for making good moves. Let's hate on them for being a successful franchise. It's really, really irritating. I'm trying to find more information for you guys. The thing that's interesting to me about this is, like, I figured there'd be more stuff about this because it seems like they sat on this for a while before kind of letting people know. But there's not a whole lot beyond, like, just the 2 picks. Oh, wow. Crosby averaged nearly 10 sacks per season over his entire career. I knew he was really good, obviously, but that's very impressive. To average nearly 10 sacks per season for his entire career. He got 10 sacks last year and he missed a few games because of injury, so. Which that was something that the Ravens struggled with last year. They didn't have a great pass rush. I think, like, a defensive tackle named, like, 3rd rounder that I can't remember the name of. I want to say Travis Jones off the top of my head. He led the team, if I'm remembering correctly. And, Mike Green I don't think Mike Green was a starter last year. He might be this year, but Maxx Crosby's definitely going to elevate that pass rush and help teach these young guys like Mike Green. And Mike Green's technically a linebacker, but he plays that edge position kind of like TJ Watt or Micah Parsons. But yeah, this makes me mad. I hope the Bengals make a big move, man. Like, I hope they're seeing this and they just, swing. I hope they go after Devin Lloyd. Hope they go after Brian Cook. Cam Curl got taken off the board. This is just really frustrating. Overall, that's where I'm at. But I think we're probably going to head out. It's getting late. I'm tired. You're tired. But as Richard White said, oh, come on. Are you kidding me? That is the mantra of Bengals fans when it comes to this trade. Thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate every single one of you. Please subscribe if you haven't already. We keep you up to date on all the latest NFL news and try to entertain you a little bit along the way. Like, comment, subscribe. Let us know your craziest thoughts about NFL free agency. We will be live on Wednesday. I'll go as live as long as I can possibly figure out how to, and we'll talk about all the big signings that day. And then we also have an interview coming up next week that I'm very excited about, and that will be posted next week as well. We'll go out with this, I guess. Chris Viking says, Josh, Bengals fans and Vikings fans are the same. Both organizations don't do much to give faith to the fans. Fair enough. Well, hopefully the Bengals sign Devin Lloyd, and that's what I got for you. But until next time, go do something nice for someone.